We are going to make Ohio a zero income tax state where you can keep what you earn. It is your money, not the government's. And if 9 other states can get that job done, I will tell you the state that put a man on the moon can get this job done too. This is not rocket science. It is about being more efficient in the way that we run our government. We need a businessman, not a bureaucrat, to get that job done, and that is why I'm in this race. We're going to deliver the biggest property tax rollback in the history of our state, because it is your home and your land, not the government's. And we will do it while improving academic performance in our public schools.
Hey, Ohio, it's January 10th, 2026. So that was Vivek Ramaswamy, the GOP candidate for Ohio governor for 2026. And in that speech, he says he's going to eliminate all income taxes in Ohio. He is going to make the most historic rollback to property taxes ever. And somehow public education is going to achieve the best things ever here. None of these things check out when added together. If you eliminate income taxes in the state of Ohio, you will have a giant chunk of your general revenue fund that pays for things like public education taken out. And the only way to cover that revenue loss would be increasing sales tax, which are the most regressive form of tax. We would have to have the highest sales tax in the nation if we were to increase sales tax to offset that revenue loss. That would hurt middle and low income people. Or you would have to increase property taxes to pay for public services, right? Which we already have very high property taxes because our legislators, the majority party, refuses to pay for public services like public education appropriately through our state budget. And again, in the video, he says, no, he's going to roll back property taxes. You will not have money for school funding if this happens. And what he will say is, oh no, we just need to make things more efficient. That is code. That is code for we need to cut programs. We need to cut funding. And this is going to hurt low and middle income people the most. And I'm going to explain how that's going to work. Because take a family making $50,000 a year, right? When he gets into office, he says he's going to eliminate your income taxes. Well, this family making $50,000 a year, they're going to maybe get a tax cut of $700, okay, in a year. Maybe enough to buy, a couple weeks of groceries, not nearly enough to pay, health insurance premiums, pay for, childcare, etc. But they're going to get, again, $700. Now take a family of making $500,000 a year. If they eliminate income taxes when he is elected and we have a 2.75% flat tax rate, which they implemented in our last state budget, then they would be getting a $13,000 tax cut. That family making $500,000 a year. The family that can already afford childcare, they can afford to pay for their health insurance. They don't have to worry about paying for groceries. They can invest heavily in themselves and their kids' futures. So yeah, so they're getting a $13,000 tax cut. Now let's look at the public school. So the public school that they both go to right now is not getting funding. They're not getting funding because there's no way unless he comes up with some different revenue stream, which I have not heard him say, that the schools are going to be appropriately funded if we eliminate one of the largest source of revenue in our state budget, which is income taxes, and then roll back property taxes. That school's not going to get the funding it needs. They're going to then cut things like busing services. They're going to eliminate before and after school programs. They are going to lay off teachers and staff. And so that kid's classroom is going to balloon to 35, 40 kids per teacher. Now your kid is struggling. You're struggling because you have to figure out how to get your kid to and from school when you're working, right? And everything snowballs, right? And maybe your kid has a few extra learning needs or behavioral needs, and now they don't have the attention that they need because they're one of 40 kids in a classroom. Meanwhile, that family that, is making $500,000 a year, they're like, hey, they're going through the same thing. And they're like, but you know what? We're seeing, the school's going downhill. We're going to pull our kids out and we're going to send them to the wealthy private school. It's 40 minutes away, but you know what? Mom stays home, so she'll take one for the team and drive them to and from that school. And so they go off to the private school and leave the public school. And then you think making the $50,000 a year that, oh, you know what, maybe we'll do the same thing. But guess what? You show up to that school and they go, oh, little Johnny, he has a little too many learning needs and behavioral needs for us. So we're so sorry. We just can't enroll him here. And then you're stuck. And if anybody is thinking to themselves right now, well, I don't care, I don't have kids, it's not going to affect me, it will affect you, because our public schools are often backbones in the community, right? And so families, if that starts to fail, families will leave. New families will not move in. Businesses then will struggle. Businesses will close. People will then lose their job at the businesses in your area. You will not have funding for police or fire departments. So if you have an emergency, nobody is going to show up to help you. Your roads will go to crap. You will not have parks, green spaces, etc. This affects everybody. And I get it. It sounds really, really good when people say, I'm going to eliminate all your taxes. Look at what happens to states that eliminate income taxes specifically. It creates a very regressive tax system, which we already have in Ohio. This will make it worse because it overburdens then low and middle income families. It shifts the burden onto them to fund local services. And we've already seen, I've showed this graphic before, but already in the state of Ohio, low and middle income families pay a larger share of their income in taxes than the wealthiest Ohioans. And this is a direct result of 20 years of tax cuts, carve-outs for the wealthy, the well-connected, and special interests. There is a better way to do things here. They are choosing not to do it. There is a way. The income taxes are the one way we can actually create a progressive tax system that does not overburden working families, right? Low and middle income families and individuals. Because we tax wealth appropriately, you can have multiple tax brackets that tax higher earners a higher rate on that wealth. They are not doing that. And he'll say, you know, in this video, oh, if all these other states can do it like Texas and Florida, we can surely do it here. I'm going to break that down too, because what does Florida have that we do not have? They generated $40 billion in sales tax last year, mainly from tourism. We do not have that here in Ohio. We do not have an ocean and thousands of miles of coastline that people come to visit, right, and spend money. You know, it doesn't happen. We generate about a fourth of that in sales tax here. And then he'll say, you know, what about, you know, look at Texas. They don't have income taxes. Well, you know what Texas has? They have very high property taxes. They have very high property taxes, and they have a higher corporate tax rate. We have a very low, something called a commercial activity tax. Very, very low taxes on businesses here already. But again, Vivek Ramaswamy is saying we're going to eliminate income taxes and we're going to roll back property taxes, which hands down, property taxes here are too high. But that is the direct result of these states, our lawmakers, the majority party, refusing to pay their fair share in things like public education through the state budget, which just shifts the burden onto property taxes. And we are 45th lowest in the state share of funding for public education in the nation. Do not believe this man. He is going to sell you things that sound really, really good. Really good, but in reality, they will not shape out. They will not work out for especially low and middle income people. He is doing this for the wealth class. I think the dead giveaway for that is when they pan to the audience and it's a bunch of like men in business suits being like, yes, this is what we should do. Because you know what? Wealthy people, they're going to benefit most from eliminating income taxes. They're going to benefit the most. Capital gains in the state of Ohio are taxed as income. A lot of really wealthy people, they don't make their money on like their yearly or their annual income. They make it on capital gains, right? So when people like Les Wexner sell a large share of their business and make $2 billion, can you imagine not having to pay state tax on that anymore? A capital gains tax? That's why he's doing this. That is why he's doing this. We can balance this system, our taxation system, so it does not overburden low and middle income families. But that would include a progressive income tax structure to do it, which would ensure we have funding for public services, public goods and services, again, without shifting that burden onto low and middle income families.